Hello and welcome to Farming Simulator 25. Today we're going to talk about grass. Getting grass, specifically grass for your animals, as there are some upcoming animal guides for the channel here. So this is getting grass for the purpose of animals, not for the purpose of like min-maxing it. Alright, I'll have a separate video for that. What we're going to talk about today is grass and hay, specifically. Grass can be harvested just as it is. We can make it into hay. We can also turn grass into silage. That will also be a separate video. So today's video will just focus on the basics of gathering grass and hay to feed for your animals. Let's get started. So here we have basic grass field. So the very basics of grass begin here in the calendar. Down near the bottom, you see that you can harvest it any time of year, but it only grows March through November. Now, grass has 3 growth stages. I'll show all of these to you in today's video, and everything will be marked down at the bottom in chapters and try to cover everything as thoroughly as I can. That's why maximizing the yield will be in a separate video. Silage will be in a separate video because there's a lot to cover. So today is just the basics of growing grass. Right, there's 3 growth stages, but you can harvest your grass every other month for, as far as I can tell, the same amount of yield, really. And we'll cover all of that. All right, so we've just purchased this grass field. And this is the state that you'll see it in. This is the 3rd growth stage of grass where it's all ready to harvest and everything like that. Grass, you don't have to plant grass every month. You don't have to, or sorry, every time you harvest it, you don't have to, it just grows back. Like grass does, it grows back. We're not going to worry about fertilizing it or anything like that. That will be in, we'll have a separate video for that, like I said, for maximizing yield. We're just going to worry about the actual farming it and using it, and we'll be feeding our animals for the animal tutorial videos, right? So we're not going to worry about yield bonus. And for that purpose, you can get grass just as easily from your front yard. Don't forget, if your animals are hungry and you're in a bind, you can just mow your lawn and get grass, and it'll grow back. Today we'll be using this grass field though. All right, so there's a lot of tools that you could potentially want. This is only some of them right here. There's a lot of tools. The very basic though is gonna be a mower. Lots of mowers you can get. Here we have this Kubota fitted with a front and rear mowers. These are really simple and basic, except that lots more controls because you have to swap between the front and rear and lower and fold and turn them all on separately, right? Anyway, the basics of mowing grass is like using any other tool, just like so. Now, no matter what mower you use, of course, it covers the entire ground with grass. It's not very handy for picking up, which is what we need the windrower for. All right, now that we've mowed it, this is where we decide, do we want this to be grass or do we want it to be hay? Grass is, well, it's just grass, and it's picked up straight from the ground. Hay, well, hay is just dried out grass, right? With hay, before we do anything else, we're going to want to run over this with a tedder, and I'll show you that. That flips the grass over, allowing it to dry in the sun, and then we would gather it up. The reason I say this is, as you know, before we pick it up, we're going to want to use a windrower to organize this into neat rows to pick up. But if we're going to turn it into hay, we want to use the tedder first to flip over and dry the grass, then gather it up, because the tedder will flip the grass all over the place, forcing us to windrow it again. So that's why you want to stop and think, what are you doing with it before you windrow it? Well, we're just going to gather this row right here as just regular grass. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and windrow it. Let's just stop here one moment while we have a look at this. Now, this windrower will gather all the grass in the center for a row. Some windrowers gather it off to the side, but they all do the same thing. They gather it up so you can pick it up neatly. That said, we can pick up the grass as it is like this. You technically don't need one of those. If you want to do, 3 or 4 runs up and down the field, we could pick this up with the baler or forage wagon as it is. But of course, the windrower makes it far more handy. Once we've done this, we can decide if we want to bale it or pick it up with the forage wagon. Picking it up with the forage wagon is just picking it up loosely in a wagon. You can use that to store it in some storage things. We can use it that way to dump into bunker silos, which I'll cover in the silage video. So sometimes you may want to bale it, sometimes you may want to use the forage wagon. Again, those things can be covered further in other videos, but for today, we'll just be probably just baling it. Just be aware that you can use either. And we do have a forage wagon over there. I picked one up just in case. Whenever I'm working with grass, or when I'm working with most stuff, really, I usually have a capable front loader on my tractor, as you can see here. In this case, and pretty much every case really, my favorite attachment for the front loader is this silage fork. The silage fork is a great attachment as you can use it to spike bales, you can use it to pick up pallets even, and of course you can use it to scoop up grass, hay, silage manure, pretty much anything. So this is great whenever you're doing anything with grass here. You can scoop some of it, move it, move it around however you want. It's a good thing to have. However, of course, if you're baling or in any other way working with grass, keep it elevated as you're going up the field so that you're not accidentally scooping it while you're baling or something like that. But I just thought I'd mention that as a little aside because it's a very handy tool to have for picking up and just moving little bits of grass here or there at a time. And then without even switching attachments, you can use it to spike bales and move them around, as I have over here. I've got some bales stacked from where I was previously mowing this grass. All right, so now that our grass is baled, now that our grass is windrowed, rather, we can bale it, we can pick it up with the forage wagon. Again, we can use this to dump into some kinds of grass or hay storage, like a hay loft. And we can also use this to dump it into a bunker silo to turn into silage for cattle. And again, we'll cover that in a second video. Baling it. We're going to be using this baler today. I can cover balers in a separate video because they're kind of a thing all to their own, but they all work the same way, whether it's round or square, big or small. They all work the exact same way. We want to unfold it first, lower the pickup, and turn it on. Now, notice that this baler already has 53% of a grass bale in it. Luckily, we're picking up more grass, so that's great. If we were picking up hay, because there was already 53% of a grass bale, because there was already more than 50% of a grass bale, keep in mind, if this were hay, it would still be a grass bale because it was more than half grass already. So there are tricks. We'll cover that in a baler video. I'll have a video on balers. There are tricks to empty it, things like that. But keep in mind that whatever the largest portion of stuff in the baler is what kind of bale it will make. So simple as that for grass. Now let's have a look at hay. For hay, of course, it's the same as grass. The first step is mowing it. And this can be any grass field, as we are here, or your front lawn. Now, as I mentioned, if you're doing hay, the next thing you'll want to do after mowing, before you windrow, consider whether or not you want to make it into hay and get a tedder, because this is going to make a huge mess all over the field. So if you've windrowed, you're going to have to do that all over again. So we have mowed, and now this is the step that turns it into hay. Luckily, unlike in real life, it does it instantly and in only one step. Just run it over your field like so. And so it's only one step that we insert in between mowing and windrowing. Once we've done this, we can come through, windrow it, and poof, we have hay. And your hay will look like this. It's a little lighter colored than the grass. The bales will still be green. We'll see the bales. They'll still be green, but they'll be lighter green. So here's what your hay looks like. So we windrow it, and then we can gather it with a forage wagon or pick it up with a baler. Sometimes you might have some grass or hay mixed in or next to each other. Again, if we picked up some grass, it wouldn't matter because this bale is predominantly hay. The bale would come out hay, etc., as I said before. So let's get one hay bale kicked out here so we can compare it to the grass bale. Here we have hay bale. Yeah, it looks different than it did on the ground. It's definitely light green. Here's your grass bale. They're darker green. Really easy to tell them apart. Hay and grass, of course, are used to feed animals. You can put it directly in their feed troughs. Depending on the animal, it has different values, and we'll talk about that in the specific animal guides. So now that we have harvested our grass, and we've seen how we can do it in hay and in grass, how we can organize it on the field better, pick it up at the forage wagon, etc., now let's see how it grows. Again, of course, we'll worry about min-maxing it, stuff like that in the max yield grass video. Here we're just going to look at it just regrowing as if this was just our front lawn or something like that. So now that we've harvested it here in June, let's check back on it next month in July. All right, here we are in July. Notice that some of the grass that we missed, the hay and grass we missed picking up, is still there. It'll still be there. Notice our grass has started growing back in little grassy clumps. This is the first growth stage. So let's come back in August. We'll be able to harvest it next month in August. It only needs just this 1 month to, basically 2 months to grow, right? Let's come back here in August. All right, here we are in August. Now, you can see where we mowed it. See, it hasn't completely grown back. That's why I said at the beginning of the video it has 3 growth stages. It does. It's not completely growing back. It's brighter green than the rest of the grass and a little shorter. But I assure you, it's, yeah, it says ready to harvest. It is. And the yield may be slightly different. I did test that before I did this video. I tested 1 full harvest, and I got within a couple percent the same bale. So that's within the margin of error. We'll test that again in a future video on maximizing your yield. But for absolutely all intents and purposes, you can harvest it every other month. However, let's go ahead into September and see the final growth stage. All right, here in September, it's at the final growth stage, and the whole field, you can't see where we, can't see where we mowed anymore. It's in the final last growth stage where it's fully grown. So that's everything you need to know about grass for the purpose of feeding your animals. We'll have maximizing yield in a separate video. We'll have animals in separate videos, and of course silage as well. But this is the basics of grass. Of course, I'll be referring to this video from other videos. So if you came here from an animal video, thank you for watching. And yeah, we'll cover other stuff in future coming videos. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. This is the basics of grass farming. I'll see you guys next time.